The first ones looked like meteors. At 21:07 Greenwich Mean Time, the night above New York split open. Thousands of civilians stared upward as streaks of molten fire burned across the clouds. Phones recorded the glowing trails, children pointed, and for a few fleeting seconds some thought it was beautiful. Then the streaks didn't fade. They grew larger, sharper, directed. Screams replaced all when the first wave of Zorith warships breached atmosphere. In the Terran Defense Command, Commander Elias Cade watched from the orbital projection room. Blue lights traced the enemy's descent across the globe. Each marker represented a warship the size of a city block. His jaw tightened. Confirmation, his aide reported. They've pierced outer detection nets. 38 capital ships. Unknown number of escorts. Cade didn't curse. He leaned on the steel table, eyes cold. Status of orbital stations? Station Ares and Lunar Net are hot. Rail batteries on Earth are charging, but what? Sir, projections say our stations will last only 10 minutes under concentrated fire. Cade finally looked up. Then we'll make those 10 minutes count. A shrill tone filled the command room. An incoming transmission. The symbol was alien, jagged and violet, Zorith Dominion. Put it on, Cade ordered. The hologram flickered. A towering alien appeared, skin like obsidian plates, eyes burning violet. His crest arched high, ceremonial armor gleaming. His voice rumbled with contempt. I am High Strategist Valor. Humans of Earth, your cycle of arrogance ends tonight. Surrender your planet, your weapons, your future. Resist, and we will grind your species into silence. Gasps echoed among officers. Cade remained still. He studied Valor for a heartbeat, then spoke. You talk too much. The alien's eyes narrowed. Cade's voice was calm steel. Earth doesn't surrender. You should have picked another planet. The feed cut. Silence lingered, broken by the hum of equipment. His aide whispered, Sir, was that wise? Cade allowed the faintest smile. It doesn't matter. They were coming anyway. He straightened. Patch me to global defense. The channel opened. Around the world, military commanders, pilots, and soldiers leaned closer to their consoles. This is Commander Cade. You all saw the sky. They think Earth will break. They don't understand us. You hold your line. You buy time. And when the order comes, his eyes flicked to the holographic swarm descending. You break them instead. A chorus of affirmations thundered back. The first shockwave hit. Orbital alarms screamed as Zorith plasma cannons lit up the void. Earth stations glowed against the black sky, shields straining, railguns answering with thunder that could be heard from the planet below. The invasion had begun. And Elias Cade had no intention of letting Earth fall. The void lit with war. Zorith capital ships surged into low orbit, their violet lances tearing at Earth's fragile defense line. Station Ares shuddered as the first barrage smashed into its shields. For an instant, the glow held. Then the outer plating screamed, splitting under superheated plasma. Inside the command room, alarms roared. Shield integrity at 40%, a tech cried. Compensate, Cade ordered. Already venting secondary. Cade's eyes flicked across the battle map. 38 enemy capital ships, countless escorts. His own, 5 orbital stations, 9 defense cruisers, a scatter of older frigates. By every metric, Earth should have been annihilated. But he hadn't survived the Martian rebellion by following metrics. Signal Luna Net, he said. Initiate crossfire pattern Gamma 3. Force them closer to Earth's well. The aide hesitated. Sir, that puts them in range of atmospheric drag. That's the point. Zorith warships aren't built for real gravity. Orders flew. On the far side of Earth, hidden railguns woke. Buried in mountain ranges and polar ice, the Terran Accord's secret weapons charged, coils screaming as magnets reached lethal power. Above, the Zorith fleet shifted to adjust formation. They didn't see it coming. The first rail slug left the Himalaya array at 12 kilometers per second. Invisible until impact, It punched straight through a Zorith cruiser, cracking its hull like brittle glass. The detonation painted the night above Asia in violet fire. Cheers erupted in the command center. "One down," Cade muttered. 37 to go. The alien response was immediate. Their formation bent, focusing fire on orbital guns. Station Ares trembled as its hull peeled away in sections. Cade's jaw locked as he watched crew markers blink out on the board. "Sir, Station Ares is falling." He didn't flinch. "Order them to keep firing until the last coil burns. No retreats." On screen, Ares kept screaming metal thunder even as its shields bled out. Slugs hammered another Zorith frigate, tearing it apart before plasma finally cored the station. It disintegrated in silent fire, fragments scattering like bones. Every officer felt the weight of those lost lives. Cade gave them nothing but a command. "Shift fire. Make their victory expensive." The Dominion didn't expect Earth to fight like this. For centuries they had crushed prey worlds, bombardments, swift compliance, slaves chained without resistance. But Earth wasn't prey. Every station, every ship fought with feral defiance, hammering the enemy even as they fell. The bridge doors hissed open. Major Sarah Vance, commander of the Orbital Marines, strode in with helmet tucked under one arm. Her armor bore scorch marks from a boarding action she'd just cleared. "Cade," she said without preamble. "They're trying to board Lunanet. My squads are holding, but they're throwing whole platoons through breach pods." "Casualties?" She grimaced. "Heavy. But the bastards don't know how to fight in close quarters. They panic when we get within blade range." Cade's mouth twitched into something like approval. "Then bleed them. Buy us time." Her eyes flicked to the screens, the endless storm of violet fire. "You think we can actually win this?" Cade's reply was iron. "I think we can make them regret ever learning our name." She smirked and pulled on her helmet. "Good enough." As she left, another warning alarm shrieked. The Zorith flagship was maneuvering into firing range. Its profile loomed enormous, bristling with cannons. "Target, Valor's Pride," an officer whispered. Cade's hand hovered over the command console. He could almost feel the alien strategist staring back from that ship, smug, certain of human collapse. "Not tonight." "Release the Veils," Cade ordered. The aide blinked. "Sir?" "Do it." Across Earth's orbit, 1,000 dormant satellites stirred. They were disguised as derelicts, husks left from past decades. But inside, they carried microfusion cores and magnetic pulse emitters. One by one, they detonated, flooding the near-orbit battlespace with bursts of electromagnetic fury. Zorith's sensors screamed. Their targeting went blind. Cannons fired wide, shields flickered. For the first time, their formations broke in confusion. "Now!" Cade roared. "All stations, fire at will!" From the mountains, the deserts, the orbital rings, humanity's guns spoke. Rail slugs and plasma lances raked the blinded fleet. Another cruiser cracked apart. 2 escorts spun burning into atmosphere, crashing into the Atlantic like falling suns. The command room thundered with cheers. For a brief moment, Earth was striking back. But the cost came fast. The aliens recovered. Their numbers were too great. Blind or not, they surged forward, overwhelming defense arcs. Orbital Station Typhon cracked, breaking in half under plasma fire. The crew had time only for one last transmission. "For Earth," before silence. Cade's hand curled into a fist. Another 100 gone. And still, he couldn't blink, couldn't mourn. Not yet. "Enemy losses?" he demanded. 5 confirmed destroyed. Several crippled. "They're adjusting, sir." Valor's voice cut across the comms again, mocking, cold. "Impressive. The vermin bite. But you bleed faster than you kill," Cade answered without hesitation. "And yet you're the one pulling wreckage out of the sky." He killed the channel before Valor could reply. The aide looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, we can't keep trading like this. They'll bury us in fire." Cade's gaze hardened. "Then we stop trading." He pointed to the map, highlighting Earth's gravity well. We lure them closer. Make their arrogance our weapon. The aide swallowed. That's suicide. Cade's eyes burned with a grim light. Not if we drag them into the fire with us. Outside, the night sky over Earth raged with violet lightning and human thunder. The first salvo had been fired. And though the cost was steep, humanity had drawn blood. The real fight was just beginning. The war came clawing into steel corridors. On orbital station LunaNet, breach sirens howled as Zorith pods tore into the hull. Each pod slammed like a spear, splitting decks, flooding them with violet-armored soldiers. They came tall, plated, with energy blades crackling in their fists. They expected terror. Surrender. They got human Marines. Major Sarah Vance met them at the choke points with shotgun squads and boarding axes. The corridors filled with smoke and screams as buckshot ripped through alien armor. When rounds failed, the Marines closed the distance, slamming knives into exposed joints, dragging the aliens down into the blood and metal. A Zorith warrior bared its jagged teeth at Vance, towering over her. Its energy blade hissed through the air. She caught its arm, twisted, and drove her knife up through the throat. The alien spasmed and dropped. She keyed her comm. Cade, breach teams repelled on Deck 6. We're still holding. But they're not stopping. From the command center, Cade's voice was iron. You don't stop either. Every second you hold, our guns keep firing. Copy that, she said, wiping violet blood from her visor. In orbit, the battle raged. The Dominion pressed harder, burning through the debris cloud of ruined stations. Their numbers still dwarfed Earth's. Yet their formations wavered, breaking every time a hidden railgun struck from the planet below. Cade stood over the projection table, eyes fixed on the fleet markers. He saw patterns forming. Zora's ships were maintaining high orbit, avoiding Earth's drag. They feared the gravity well. That fear could be turned into a blade. Bring up Operation Cinderfall, he ordered. The aides froze. Sir, that plan. Do it. The map shifted, highlighting orbital debris fields, the shattered husks of stations Ares and Typhon, thousands of tons of burning wreckage spinning near Earth's upper atmosphere. Cade's plan was insane. It also might work. We drag them closer, he said. Feed them targets until they chase us. Their ships aren't built for sustained atmospheric pull. They'll burn fuel to stay afloat. They'll falter. Then we hammer them. The room went silent. Finally, one officer muttered, Sir, we'll lose half our stations executing that. Cade's voice was steady. We've already lost half. The question is whether Earth follows them. No one argued after that. The trap was set in motion. Defense cruisers feigned retreat, skimming closer to atmosphere, baiting Dominion ships into pursuit. The aliens took it, confident in their superiority. They surged downward, plasma cannons shredding decoy frigates, never realizing they were being herded. On the surface, the rail arrays adjusted, calculating trajectories. Targeting locked, a tech whispered. Cade's hand hovered over the control room. This was it, the moment Earth either rose or fell. Fire! The sky lit up. Rail slugs tore upward at hypersonic speed, threading through gravity-assisted trajectories. The first salvo gutted a Dominion destroyer, punching through its belly. The second cracked another cruiser, ripping it apart in a fireball that lit the clouds below. Humanity had turned the planet itself into a weapon. But the Zorith were not passive prey. Furious, they launched countermeasures. Plasma storms tore into the orbiting debris, scattering fire across the upper atmosphere. Shattered wreckage rained down, streaking the skies like burning meteors. Cities below watched with terror as pieces of war rained into oceans and forests. Inside the command center, alarms screamed. Civilian impact zones confirmed in South America. Rio reports heavy casualties. Cade's teeth clenched. He couldn't stop it. Not all of it. Every choice carved more blood into the ledger. He forced the thought aside. Focus fire on crippled ships. Finish them before they regroup. The Dominion, now tangled in the drag of gravity and smoke of wreckage, struggled to regain formation. For the first time, they looked vulnerable. And Cade wasn't finished. "Signal Vance," he ordered. Her voice came back ragged, gunfire echoing in the background. "Still breathing." "Barely." "What's next?" "Evacuate the wounded and seal the decks. I need LunaNet to hold position. We're using its mass for Phase 2. She didn't ask what Phase 2 was. She only said, "Understood." On Valor's Pride, the High Strategist seethed. Holograms displayed human resistance far beyond projections. His lieutenants shifted uneasily, whispering of losses and unorthodox human tactics. Valor's voice cut them down like a blade. "They are rats clawing in a burning cage. Nothing more. Press harder. Shatter their lines. I want Earth broken tonight." Yet deep within, a flicker of doubt gnawed. These humans were not behaving like prey. Back in Earth orbit, Cade's final gamble unfolded. The remains of Station Typhon had been guided, remotely nudged, until its broken hull spun along a decaying orbit. Now, its mass fell toward the Dominion's heart. The enemy tried to scatter, but the drag held them. Cade's timing was merciless. "Detonate Typhon's core." The husk exploded in a chain reaction, its fuel cells igniting in a storm of fire. The blast ripped through 3 Zorus ships, breaking their shields, leaving them tumbling helpless toward Earth's pull. The command center erupted in cheers. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had forced the enemy to bleed in earnest. Yet victory had not been bought without cost. Thousands were dead across the globe from debris strikes. 2 more defense stations were on the verge of collapse. Every hour tightened the noose. Cade leaned on the console, face carved in shadow. "Send this to every unit, hold the line. They came to break Earth. Instead, we'll break the sky." The message spread across every ship, every squad, every soldier fighting in the burning corridors of orbit. Humanity was not beaten. Not yet. And for the first time, the Zorith Dominion felt the faint, chilling edge of fear. The sky was bleeding fire. Half of Earth's orbital ring was gone. LunaNet burned from 10 separate breaches, its decks torn open, leaking fire and bodies into the void. Cities below shuddered under the shockwaves of falling wreckage. Billions on the ground could only watch as the war raged above them, every streak of flame a prayer that their defenders were still alive. Commander Elias Cade had no time for prayers. "Report," he snapped, eyes locked on the projection table. 2 stations crippled, sir," an aide replied. "Surface rail battery still online, but enemy fleet regrouping. They're adapting to the gravity drag." "Then we adapt faster," Cade cut in. "Get me firing solutions. Every slug we fire now hits something vital. No waste." On the board, Zorith formations tightened. At their center loomed Valor's Pride, untouched, directing the Dominion fleet with ruthless precision. They'd lost more than a dozen ships already, but numbers still favored them. One final push would break Earth's line. And Valor knew it. On the alien flagship, the High Strategist stood tall before the war map. His lieutenants reported losses, confusion, unexpected ferocity from the humans. But Valor's eyes gleamed with cold triumph. "They bleed themselves dry to wound us," he said. "They cannot sustain this. Prepare the final barrage. Burn their stations, their cities, their oceans. I will see their world ash." He believed it. Yet deep in his gut unease stirred. He had seen prey before. Prey ran. Prey broke. Prey never bit this hard. Back on LunaNet, Major Sarah Vance dragged a wounded Marine across a scorched deck. Breached pods still hammered the station, aliens flooding its corridors. Her squads were reduced to half strength, fighting knife to blade, shotgun to claw. A private's voice cut through the calm, ragged with panic. "We can't hold, there's too many." Vance barked over him. "You hold because Earth is still watching. You hold because if you don't, those bastards burn your family alive tomorrow. You understand me?" The silence that followed carried a grim resolve. Marines braced, weapons reloaded, knives drawn. The fight continued. In the command center, Cade saw the line breaking. The next wave would crush them unless he gambled everything. Begin Operation Iron Net. The officers froze. That plan had been whispered only in war rooms, a desperate measure never meant for reality. Sir, if we execute that, we lose everything in orbit, one whispered. Cade's eyes were stone. If we don't, we lose Earth. Do it. Above the planet, hidden reserves stirred. Thousands of drones, disguised as comms relays and decommissioned satellites, came alive. They swarmed out of orbit in synchronized arcs, forming a vast lattice around the Dominion fleet. The aliens didn't understand at first. They thought it was clutter. Harmless. Then the drones detonated. Each one unleashed compressed magnetic pulses and plasma bursts, a storm of interference and shrapnel. The Dominion fleet reeled as targeting arrays fried, shields buckled, and engines stuttered. The net closed around them, dragging them deeper into Earth's gravity well. Cade's voice cut across global defense channels. Now. Hit them with everything. From the surface, every railgun, every missile silo, every hidden coil in the mountains and deserts fired. The sky turned into a storm of steel. Hypersonic slugs punched through crippled alien hulls. Explosions lit the atmosphere like a second sunrise. One by one, Dominion ships broke apart, crashing into oceans and continents in titanic fireballs. The command center shook with cheers. But the victory was not free. The iron net consumed itself. Drones burned out, stations overloaded, and Earth's last orbital defense platforms collapsed in flame. LunaNet cracked apart as its reactors finally failed, ripping a violet wound across the night sky. Vance barely escaped, hauling survivors into escape pods as the station died around her. Her last transmission came through, voice hoarse but unbroken. Still breathing. Tell Cade, we took plenty of them with us. Cade closed his eyes briefly, then opened them cold. Acknowledge. On Valor's Pride, chaos reigned. Human firestorms hammered the Dominion flagship's escorts, leaving it exposed. Valor raged, slamming his claws into the command dais. These are not warriors, he snarled. They are vermin with rocks and fire, a lieutenant whispered. Yet they break us high strategists. Valor silenced him with a glance, but the seed of doubt had bloomed. For the first time, the Dominion fleet wavered. In the command center, Cade leaned close to the projection. The map was a graveyard of burning icons, human and alien alike. But one target remained. The flagship. He pointed. Focus fire on Pride. Kill it, and the rest scatter. The aides stared. The ship was colossal, shielded, still commanding. Attacking it meant bleeding Earth's last defenses dry. Cade's voice was ice. We break their will tonight. Or we don't see another dawn. No one argued. Rail slugs arced upward, spearing through weakened escorts. Defense cruisers made suicide runs, driving straight into alien fire to close distance. One detonated its core against a Dominion destroyer, taking both ships in a sunburst of flame. And still the Pride endured. Its cannons unleashed hell, scything through Earth's last frigates. Plasma burned across the atmosphere, turning the night into violet scars. In the command center, Cade's aide whispered, Sir, at this rate, nothing survives. Not them. Not us. Cade's jaw tightened. Then at least they remember us. The final strike came not from orbit, but from Earth itself. The Antarctica array, silent since the war began, finally discharged. Its railgun was buried deep in ice, hidden even from Dominion scans. It fired a single slug, heavier than anything launched before, riding a magnetic spine straight into the void. The round tore through Valor's Pride. Shield shattered, armor screamed, the ship split in half under the impact. Fire consumed its decks, and Valor roared in denial as his command burned around him. The Dominion fleet broke. Ships scattered, fleeing Earth's gravity, limping toward the void. Humanity had not only survived. They had shattered the armada that came to end them. Cade stood in silence as the war map shifted from violet to ash. His hands shook, whether from exhaustion or rage, even he couldn't tell. Around him, the command room erupted in cheers, tears, and disbelief. He didn't smile. Not yet. He looked at the stars, knowing this was only the beginning. The galaxy had watched tonight, and it would never see Earth the same way again. The sky above Earth was no longer filled with fire. Where once the Arkan Dominion's fleet had blotted out the stars, now only wreckage drifted, silent and broken. Fragments of warships burned as they fell through atmosphere, streaking like meteors, crashing into oceans, deserts, and empty plains. The invasion that was meant to last hours had collapsed in less than a day. But the war was not over. General Marcus Kane stood in the ruins of Geneva Command, surrounded by shattered glass and bent steel. The Arkan Command cruiser had escaped, retreating, wounded but not destroyed. And everyone knew what that meant: vengeance. "Report," Kane barked. Colonel Ruiz tapped her headset. "Enemy fleet fragmented, but we tracked their flagship into deep orbit. They're regrouping. The bastards aren't leaving." Kane's jaw clenched. He'd seen it before, wounded predators lashing back, more dangerous in desperation than in strength. "Good. Then we finish this tonight." Around him, battered soldiers, engineers, and even civilian volunteers stiffened. They were exhausted. Many hadn't slept in 2 days, but exhaustion had burned away into something sharper. Rage. Defiance. Unity. Humanity had been underestimated, mocked, targeted. Now the Arkan Dominion would learn the cost. The final push. Hours later, aboard the carrier Resolute, Kane stood before his strike force. Across the hangar, pilots checked their exoframes, gunners prepped torpedoes, engineers welded scorch-marked plating back into place. 100 different accents, backgrounds, and flags, all fused under one banner: Earth. "We all know what's at stake," Kane said, voice steady but edged with fire. "They came here to break us. To enslave us. To remind us of our place. But humanity doesn't bow. We don't kneel. We don't beg." He let his gaze sweep across them. "Tonight, we don't just drive them back, we end this. We burn their flagship so bright the whole galaxy sees. And when they do, they'll remember, Earth doesn't break." A roar erupted, steel fists slamming against armor, voices carrying into the rafters. Boarding the beast. The Resolute surged into orbit, its escorts cutting a bloody path through the remaining Dominion destroyers. Ahead loomed the enemy flagship, the Sovereign's Fang. It was colossal, bristling with weapons, its hull still glowing from earlier bombardment. Like a wounded predator, it circled Earth with murderous intent. "Bring us in close," Kane ordered. The carrier shook as railgun slugs hammered enemy shields. In return, plasma beams lanced past, one striking a frigate and ripping it in half. Kane's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. "Boarding teams, go!" Dropships launched, cutting through the chaos, diving toward the enemy like daggers. Kane rode with the lead squad, armor sealed, rifle in hand. His breath echoed in his helmet. Around him, soldiers checked weapons, tightened straps, whispered prayers. The dropship slammed into the Sovereign's Fang. Magnetic clamps bit metal, the hull cut open by plasma torches. When the breach cleared, Kane was the first through. "Move!" Hall of War. The interior stank of ozone and alien ichor. Arkan warriors waited, armored and snarling, blades humming with energy. The clash was instant, gunfire tearing through the corridor, blades sparking against shields, screams of rage and pain echoing in steel chambers. Kane's squad pressed forward, step by bloody step. Grenades lit the halls in bursts of fire. Soldiers fought like wolves, tearing into the Dominion's elite. "Bridge is ahead!" Ruiz shouted. They crashed into the command chamber. Holograms flickered, consoles sparked. At the center stood Supreme Commander Delos, towering, armored in plates of obsidian. His eyes burned with hatred. "You dare defile my ship, human?" Delos snarled. His voice was a guttural growl, amplified by his helm. "Your species is nothing. You are dust. I will gut you and display your corpse above your ruined world." Kane stepped forward, rifle lowered. He drew his combat blade, scarred from countless fights. You already tried to break Earth. You failed. Now it's our turn. Duel of wills. The Los roared, lunging. His blade was a massive curve of plasma-charged steel, slashing with brutal power. Kane met him head-on, dodging the first strike, parrying the second, sparks erupting. The chambers shook as human soldiers held back Arkan elites, giving Kane room. You fight well, for prey. The Los spat, pressing forward, strikes hammering like thunder. Kane's muscles burned. Each block rattled his arms. But he didn't retreat. He remembered the fallen, the cities burned, the billions threatened. He wasn't fighting alone. Humanity stood behind every strike. You think we're prey? Kane growled, forcing the Los back a step with a vicious counter. Prey doesn't fight until the hunter bleeds. Prey doesn't turn and hunt you instead. His blade slipped past Thalas's guard, slashing deep into alien armor. The commander roared in shock, stumbling. Kane didn't hesitate. He drove the blade into Thalas's chest and twisted. Earth doesn't break. The Los collapsed, lifeless. The collapse. With their commander dead, the Sovereign's Fong faltered. Systems went haywire, shields failed, weapons sputtered. Human teams planted charges through the corridors. Pull back! Kane shouted. They sprinted for the dropships, explosions rippling behind them. As the last team cleared, the flagship began to tear itself apart. From orbit, the world watched as the Dominion's pride, its indestructible warship, erupted in fire, scattering across the stars. Cheers erupted across Earth. On every channel, every broadcast, the image burned, humanity standing on its own, undefeated. Aftermath. Back aboard the Resolute, Kane stood on the bridge, helmet tucked under his arm. Outside, the wreckage of the Dominion fleet drifted, silent. Earth's scars would take years to heal, but they had won. Ruiz stepped up beside him. Think they'll be back? Kane's eyes narrowed. Maybe. But next time, they won't come thinking we're weak. They'll come remembering this. And they'll know, Earth fights back. Silence stretched, then Ruiz smirked. Guess we just became the galaxy's newest nightmare. Kane allowed himself a thin smile. Good. Let them be afraid. The stars stretched before them, no longer symbols of invasion, but of possibility. Humanity had stood against the galaxy's might and endured. And in that victory, a message rang clear across the void. Earth was not prey. Earth was the storm.